welcome to the Golden Ratio podcast. I am Tin, GR Mom, joined as always by GR Dad.
Hi.
How's it going, GR Dad?
Good.
How many dogs are on top of your body right now?
2, but I'm also touching guac, so it's 3.
It's the 4th of July. The booms have begun.
There's been like 3 booms.
Extremely distant booms.
Booms, distant neighborhood booms.
But the Thunder Boys, Brody and Remy, are...
After Venk started barking like a little nut job, This is new. Venk didn't used to care as much, and now she's like, I'm just going to bark. It doesn't freak me out, but I'm going to make sure everyone else is freaked out.
So anyway, there's going to be a lot of panting on this.
There we are. We've
episode.
tried various medications and cocktails on Brody and Remy.
Remy's going to pass out pretty soon because I gave him trazodone with dinner.
Remy, you're a science experiment. Brody, you're a bit of a science experiment.
The problem is, like, if we give 2 trazodones to Remy, he eventually kind of zonks out and sleeps, and he's real tired the next day.
That's not the problem.
If we give 2 trazodones to Brody, he will also zonk out until like 3 or 4 a.m., and then he starts barking. He goes...
Panting, woof, barking. He's like woof, super anxious. He kind of wanders around.
Cannot be calmed down.
He has a complete anxiety attack.
So we just defer the anxiety to later if we give him 2 trazodones.
You know those ads with the drugs where they just read all the side effects? I think he gets all of them for trazodone.
All of them in like right away.
It's like anxiety, cross-eyed, droopy ears, twitchy tail. He gets all of those.
Uncontrollable barking.
Uncontrollable barking. Yeah.
So anyway, that's that.
There we are.
All right. The cocktail of the week this week was sent to us by a friend of the squad, Midlife Midwife.
Is this not the name of the cocktail? Although not
That's
terrible.
the username. It's a good username.
Good job.
The cocktail is not good. It is the beef fizz.
I mean, if we had fizzy beef, you'd be like, that's past its date. We've got to throw it away. And I'd be like, ooh, fizzy beef. Let me touch it with my finger.
The beef fizz comes from... If you guys follow like 70s Dinner Party on Twitter, it's a great follow. It's a lot of pictures from like magazines from the 70s, but also, some 80s and some earlier stuff.
A lot of weird crap in gelatin.
So much aspic.
Aspic.
And, weird shaped things. But anyway, the beef fizz comes from like one of these cookbooks. Probably like a church cookbook. My church had a cookbook.
I mean, no offense, midwife. Beef fizz is an awful name for a drink. So,
to be clear, Midlife Midwife did not create the beef fizz.
She's not endorsing. She
sent me this.
She's in on the wonderment. Venkman Goldbeck.
Shh.
Venkman Deed Goldbeck. Come over here and I'll explain to you. You need to be quiet.
So the beef fizz is 2 cans. Don't let Remy come over here. Ingo, block him. Do the block.
Remy, you can't just wander.
2 cans of condensed beef broth, 1 cup of ginger ale, and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice.
Wait. What was the first?
2 cans of condensed beef broth.
Where's the alcohol?
That you don't get any.
Well, that could be a problem right there.
Ginger ale, beef broth, and lemon juice.
It's just a beef mule.
The instructions are combine ingredients and pour over ice in glasses. 6 to 8 servings.
You're going to drink, it's just cold soup. It's just gazpacho.
But with ginger ale.
Well,
it's fizzy.
A lot of the weird things happened in the 70s. Come on, at least put rum in it.
I do not recommend the beef
bourbon.
fizz.
Might go with bourbon.
Don't let him jump down and go.
Why not?
Because he's going to come over here and like pull the
I don't know how to
out.
I can't tackle him even harder.
All right, this is going to be a quickish podcast, I think.
It's hectic. It's going to be a bit hectic.
Are you ready for Administrative Corner?
I love Administrative Corner. Yes, I am ready.
The Vink plushies are shipping.
Fantastic. The torrent, the raging torrent of Venk plushies is being unleashed on the world. Step downstream, everyone, and receive your Venk plushies.
Okay.
Wait, was that wrong? It's going to be a whole tidal wave of Venk plushies flushing out all the badness in the world.
I can't wait to see everybody's pictures of their Vink plushies.
Yeah, there's nothing bad about this.
It's time for dog updates.
I've had a few beers. Ossifer.
Okay.
All right. Just, for a context.
Oh, it's good to know.
Like you didn't.
I wasn't aware that it was to the point that you would announce it. So
I just want to be
now I'm
honest.
caught up.
Full disclosure with everyone.
No, thanks. That's great.
I got information to share. I'm going to share it.
Okay, Doug updates. The elevator is still not working.
It is moot. We're never going to have an elevator.
It's not
we
that
have
bad.
always lived without an
Oh my
elevator.
God.
I've always carried Brody up and down stairs. Nothing ever changes.
They were supposed to come last Thursday. I was out of town. And I was like, you think they're going to come? And it goes like, probably not.
I forgot about this. Yeah.
So I was like, just call and ask so you're not waiting around all day. And it goes like, no. And then I was like, you're not going to call. I'll just call. We have this thing. I mean, I also don't like doing the calls, but Inga will be like, I'll think about it. And then just like doesn't.
Ugh.
And I'm like, I'll just like suck it up and do it. So I'm like, I will call.
I just knew this one was a bad one. Go ahead.
And I was like, hey.
What's up?
You ordered our parts like 6 weeks ago that were supposed to be here in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And I told you when you ordered them that I wanted to be put on the schedule for the
29th.
Following week.
Yep.
Oh, I wanted it before the 29th.
Right.
And they're like, yep, you're on the schedule. But, he's got a lot of other jobs today. So we're not totally sure if he's going to be able to make it. And I was like, this has happened before, that you've put us on the schedule to fix the elevator, which, by the way, has only worked for 3 weeks this year. And then you just don't come. And he's like, well, yeah, because he starts the day in Key West and then he has to work his way up. So he can't drive all the way up to your island and then go back to others. And I was like, cool. Does that mean we're just going to be at the end every single time? And then maybe if he has time to get to us, he won't. But if people put on more jobs in Key West, then he'll just do those. And
Too
then
bad for us.
We don't know when you'll come. It's just random. And he's like, well, no, there were other people waiting. And I was like, but what you said is
Yeah, I know.
that our island is far away and he comes to our island last. And,
Yep.
He's like, well, let's just see how it goes. I was like, no, I would really like to know when he's going to come. And if it's not going to be today, will it be next week? And he's like, well, we're not coming to the Keys next week. I'm like, okay, so will it be the following week? He's like, well, he might still come today. I'm like, yeah, okay, but when he doesn't, are you guys going to come in 2 weeks when you're down in the Keys? Or is it going to be like, well, if we get a bunch of jobs in Key West, then, he'll do those instead. And he's like, well, the people in Key West, they've been waiting as long as you. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that that's not true. But even if they were, that's not what you said. What you said is that our island is too far away. I let this guy have it.
He's not used to actually being cross-examined.
Yeah. I was also I had just spent the previous day in a deposition. I guess I was going into deposition. I got deposed last week for a lawsuit where I'm an expert witness. And then I had to watch the other guy get deposed also. And so I was very much in the mindset of answer the question and then we're going to discuss your answer.
It's a yes and no question, sir.
Yeah.
Anyway, the dude didn't come.
He did not come because he got busy. The dude...
He got busy. Now, here's my addendum to this, or the other side of the story, or whatever it is, the next page. I like the guy. I think he works pretty hard. I don't think it's his personal fault, the actual maintenance guy, right?
The guy who comes to our house.
I don't think it's necessarily his fault that he's just a member of a messed up organization. I think he can do his job and he works. But I did come back from a shopping run from Key West, and about a third of the way back, there's a gas station. So I pull into the gas station. I'm filling up the car. And as I'm leaning on the car, looking around, filling it up, I see a little van that says Florida Lifts LLC on it. And I'm like, oh, not thinking. And then I'm like, wait a minute, that's our lift guys. And then I look, and it's the guy in the driver's seat, just sitting there eating lunch.
We in this house respect labor and people's right to have their lunch breaks.
But it made it seem like a little less urgent that he's in Stock Island, which is, far outside of Key West. He's not Stock Island. It's Big Coppet. He's in Big Coppet, which is pretty far outside Key West, towards our island at 2:14.
I just want to say, I disagree with you on this premise. I think he absolutely is allowed to stop and have a lunch break, and it does not mean that he's not working hard.
I think so too. It just makes me a little bit more conflicted about it. You know, he's not slaving away in Key West at 5 p.m. because he's already halfway to our house by 2:14 p.m.
He's got a right to have a lunch break.
It's not his problem that his company sucks.
Yes, they need to hire more people, which I told the guy when I was talking to him. He's like, we used to come down to the Keys once a week, and now it's every 2 weeks. I'm like, yeah, maybe you should fix that because everybody on our block is mad at you. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
So our neighbors next door, I talked to them today while you were in your meeting.
Yeah, I know. The pool steak guys, yeah.
The pool steak guys. So I went in their house and I hung out for like 20 minutes talking to him. They were supposed to get their elevator from the same company installed in January.
Installed, not repaired, yeah.
They're allegedly going to install it next week
But
because the wife found the phone number for the president of Florida Lifts, the CEO, and like called him and was like, "What the heck, guy?" and yelled at him. But they were like, "All our neighbors on the block are mad at you."
I think the guy across the street is talking about suing him.
He is
Right?
suing them.
Yeah.
And so when I was on the phone with the guy yesterday, he's like, yeah, we used to do this. And I was like, yeah, why don't you come every week? Because everyone's mad because you're not getting stuff done. I'm like, is this a staffing problem? Do you just not have enough people? And I think I kind of broke him at that point. He's like, I have one guy who just got surgery and he's probably out for 5 months. And then this guy retired. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, well, I guess we'll see what happens. And then, of course, like normally he would call and be like, Corey, the elevator guy's not going to be able to come. And instead, he just sent an email.
He's like, I can't handle that lady again.
I mean, I didn't yell at him, but
You made it uncomfortable for him.
He was very uncomfortable because I was asking questions and insisting on accurate answers.
Yeah.
And not letting him get away with shit and not backing down. Like, I don't yell and I don't expect things to be and this is what, when I was talking to the neighbors today, like, I don't expect to be prioritized. I'm happy to wait in line for my turn. And if they had told us at any other point, listen, we're going to order your parts, but the schedule is full until the middle of July, you will be, serviced in the middle of July when it's your turn, I'd be like, well, that sucks, but okay. But instead, that wasn't it. That was like never the answer. That's just the answer this week.
No, this feels like you're in a restaurant and you put your name down and other people get put ahead of you all the time.
And they're like, well,
it's very.
All right, we got to stop bitching about this. It's boring.
Anyway, elevator still busted.
But maybe next Thursday it'll get fixed.
I carry Brody, you push Brody, and
him a
he's
butt push.
fine with both, and I'm fine with doing my carrying. He's a big teddy bear. I like carrying him around.
Speaking of Brody.
Hi, Brody.
So he got his tooth pulled last week, which we talked about on the pod. And then I got home from a very, very difficult week of travel. And
barely got home.
It was so, oh my God.
You flew to Miami. I had to pick you up in Miami. Or I had the opportunity. I had the privilege of picking you up from the airport in Miami, and you drove yourself home while I slept like a person who sleeps a lot.
My last week, I had to go to Milwaukee and then from Milwaukee to Austin, Texas, and then back. And my flight to Milwaukee, I flew through Atlanta, so I got to Atlanta and I was supposed to have an hour and my flight to Milwaukee was supposed to leave at like 3 p.m. They did eventually cancel that flight at 2 a.m. But as the day wore on, I was like, I absolutely don't have a choice. Like, I was doing a presentation at like 7:45 in the morning in Milwaukee.
You had to get Milwaukee that night
It could not be delayed. It could not be changed. I looked about driving, but it was like a 12-hour drive. I'm like, even if I drove all night, I would be late. So by like 9:30, 10 p.m., I was like, I'm going to have to book a flight and go someplace else. There's no other flights to Milwaukee. So I had a backup flight to Chicago and then eventually found one to Madison. I got into Madison at like 11:30 p.m. right as the rental car place was closing. Like, got a rental car, drove an hour and a half to Milwaukee. Finally got in at like 2 a.m. Milwaukee, extremely charming. My hotel was great. I wish I had had more time there. And instead, what I got to do was like give a talk, which was super fun, and then load my shit up and then go back to the airport.
Talk was at crack of dawn. I mean, it was early. It's not like you had much buffer.
And then I had to fly to Austin. The flights were delayed going down there. And then I got deposed in Austin for this lawsuit where I'm an expert witness. And I had asked them on Thursday, like, listen, guys, I have a 6 p.m. flight to Miami that I would love to take. I'm like, I have a flight on Saturday morning if we can't make it. But if possible, I'd really love to make this flight. I'd have to leave here at like 4. If it's going to be close, do you mind if we start early? And the other side, who gets to decide, is like, oh, I know what I'm going to ask. I can't imagine us going to 4. We can start early if you want, but we don't really have that much for you. And I was like, that's great. Like, because there's like court reporters and videographers. I'm like, let's not mess it up. If you think we'll be done by 4, that's fine. We don't need to do anything. And then my lawyers and those lawyers don't like each other, it seems. That is my non-expert opinion.
That's euphemism. They hate each other.
Nobody said that they hated each other, but it was very testy, and they pissed each other off at the end. And then the guy who was taking my deposition was like, well, I guess your expert's going to have to plan on taking her Saturday flight. And I'm like, I didn't even do anything.
I don't have a dog in this fight, and now you're punishing me for you guys fighting.
And so my deposition was on Friday, and like he spent a huge amount of time asking me about like web design projects I did in like the late 90s. Like we spent like 2 hours on it.
He almost like went through your high school yearbook about every activity in high school.
Almost. It was very close. Clearly just wasting time. So then he could ask me the, most prescient questions after 4 p.m. when I needed to leave to go catch my flight. And I will say also that, like, when we talked last week, I was like, Hop's dying really hasn't hit me. And it did in the middle of Friday. So every time we'd take a break, I would go in the bathroom and just like sob for 5 minutes and then like try to make sure my makeup looked okay and then go back in and have people ask me questions. And in the last break, like after it was like 4:15 and I had texted you from the bathroom, I'm like, I'm crying in the bathroom. I don't think I'm going to make this flight to Miami. We're on a break. We're not even done. And I should have left 15 minutes ago. And I came back into like the law office and, my lawyers are there like, oh, you're doing a great job. And I just like broke down crying. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like I hate crying at work. It's so unprofessional. And I'm like, it just like, there's a lot of stuff going on at home right now. And I'm like, I'm fine. And they're like, you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. I'm sorry. Sorry that you saw me cry. And I go back in and then like the guy's like, so you do a lot of different activities, and was like, so basically was saying like, how do you manage doing like, writing books and being a professor and then doing this stuff and then like also running all these social media channels? And I was like, yeah, I work hard. Also, I took a sabbatical last year. And so then he finally let me go. It was like 4:26. And normally the way it works is like they finish their all day questions and then my guys ask me a few questions to like clarify anything that I might not have, said right or that could have come off wrong. And so I looked to my guy and he's like, go. So I just like grabbed my stuff, bolted to the airport, like changed my clothes at red lights while I was driving, got to the airport, like pulled my rental car into like the rental car, like e-return, ran into the airport.
Squealing.
Like my phone's ringing as I'm going through security, run up to the gate, like as they're finishing boarding, get on the plane. I'm like, Ingo, I made it onto the plane. And then I finally checked my voicemail from those frantic calls that kept coming in while I was going through security. And it was Hertz letting me know that I had taken the key to my rental car with me. So I called the guy back and I was like, listen, I'm on the plane. And he's like, you can just mail it back. And I was like, okay. So anyway, so that flight that I did manage to just barely make went into Miami, and Ingo and Remy came and picked me up in Miami.
Remmels.
And so we got home at about 1 a.m. on Saturday morning, and Brody was just like frantic. He was in pain. He was panting. And I look at his mouth where he had the tooth pulled, and the stitches have clearly popped, and there's bright white showing underneath the stitches. And I was like, that's his bone.
That's his mandible, as the vet says. Yeah. His jaw, I would say, but it's his mandible.
And if your bone is exposed, like, that's not good. Like, that's going to get infected and you're going to die. So we called the emergency vet, which is the same vet's office that did the surgery, right? They have an emergency at night. And I was like, listen, we can, like, see the bone. And I, like, took some pictures. And they're like, well, the vet who did the surgery, like, she'll be in the morning. Like, she should really be the one to look at it. So we, like, gave him some medicine. It didn't really help much. I mean, I was up with him till,
But it's
like,
3 in the morning, right? So it is, like, only 9 hours. Or
And
no,
I-
only, like,
Yeah.
6 hours till they open in the morning, yeah.
But I had slept, like 3 or 4 hours a night basically all week. I was just so exhausted. I got into bed and I was like, it's so good to be in bed. And then, like, Brody was, like, all freaked out. So then I was up with him. We get up, we take him to the vet, and she's like, is that his bone? And I thought we were going to have to put him down. I thought it was because she was saying that, like, like doing surgery on, like, body parts that have cancer in them, like, it doesn't heal very well. And I was like, so this is, she took this tooth out. She tried to sew it closed. It's not going to hold. The bone is exposed. Like, the only thing that's going to happen there is some terrible infection and he'll die of sepsis. We might have to put him down today. And fortunately, it turned out it was not his bone. It's some weird fibrous tissue. She's like, yeah, I was pulling on it with some forceps and he didn't seem to mind. And I was like, oh my God.
Doesn't seem to be hurting him.
But also his, like, back, he did something to his back. So, like, he'd try to walk and he'd, like, fall over like Voods used to do, or his, like, back legs would just kind of give out and he'd plop down. And that's what was causing him pain. His belly was huge and bloated, but he didn't have bloat. Like, he was able to eat and go to the bathroom and drink, but we don't know what it was. So they gave
him a hump of water.
Yeah, big subcutaneous water. And eventually they usually do it, like, behind their shoulder blades, and his shifted down to, like, his chest, like, under neck. So you'd, like, try to scratch his neck and there's, like, a big blob.
Like a wattle. He had, like, a wattle for a while. Oh, Brodels, you really freaked us out.
It really helped, though.
Those
I mean,
12 hours.
He was much better by the next day.
I mean, as has happened before, he seemed to feel much better at the vet's office already.
He was, like, fine. And I was like, you've been panting for the last, like, 8 hours.
I'm going to stop panting now. I'm at the vet's office.
I'm going to take a nap.
So luckily, the big man is still, he seems to be back to his usual self.
Yep.
Right? I mean,
Yes. Yeah, he's walking, like, his back legs are working. They never worked great, but they're working better.
Yeah, he's otherwise, he's not panting all the time. Of course, now he's sensitive to thunder and fireworks, but so far so good. I think his deafness is really working in our favor.
He's now asleep on top of Giardad,
very
which is pretty
cutely,
great.
yeah. Yeah, Remy's more freaked out. He sometimes takes a cue from Remy, but generally, if he doesn't see Remy, he doesn't really hear a lot of the booms.
Yeah. We're doing okay. We have on in the background a Capitol 4th on PBS, and the fireworks in DC are finishing up right now. We can't hear the Key West fireworks really from our house, but we have a neighbor who does a big show, so we'll see. Those are probably going to start soon.
You and I probably also have earphones on.
I mean, Remy seems relatively calm right now, so
That's
you
true.
can't hear him.
That's true. Yeah, he's usually pretty shivery.
So other stuff we found out, we have brought Hopper's ashes home. I haven't posted a picture of them yet, but they are back. We did find out that they did the necropsy.
Right, but we don't have the results or lab tests yet, right?
No, but they did biopsy her elbow. Shut up. They did biopsy her elbow, which is great. Like, I really wanted to know if that cancer has come back in her elbow. So we're going to find out. We don't have the results yet, but we will know, which is great.
Because that would explain a lot.
Yeah, I think I would feel better. We absolutely made the right decision. There was absolutely nothing to do except what we did, but it would still make me feel better.
Yeah, it would explain why none of the painkillers individually or together helped at all and eased her pain. Yeah.
So that's it for dog updates. Are you ready for...
Everyone else is okay? No escapos? We're doing okay. Even though the neighbor is back next door and everyone is much more interested next door now, especially Guaco Man. Now when he's lurking in the water and he gets too bored, he kind of looks over there as like a threat. I think he looks over there, then he looks at me and he goes, I could go over there. That guy loves me.
Yeah.
He's got chicken.
All right, you ready for Taste of the Keys?
I am bracing myself for the most awesome Taste of the Keys ever to date.
It's a two-parter because you wanted to add.
So good.
You wanted to add the big pie.
I did.
So why don't we talk about the big pie, and then I'll do the main item that I had selected.
All right. It's a giant pie.
Don't pull it up.
Okay.
We don't need to talk that much about giant pie.
There's a 13-foot diameter key lime pie that they made
for the 200th anniversary of the Florida Keys, which was yesterday.
Right. I think they were trying to break a Guinness World Record. I don't know if they did or not, but it's a giant pie. They made it outside. The heat index is 105.
And then people ate it.
Gonna be good. They ate of it. Yes, they ate of it. There was also a pie eating contest, which is, as you expect, Jen, no utensils. People just sticking their faces in pies.
That's the only way pie eating contest happens.
With speed. Mm-hmm. Yep. Speed. Not volume, speed. Yep. So it was Key Lime Pie Festival this weekend. This was part of it.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, giant pie.
Off you go.
All right, thank you. The selected story I picked for Taste of the Keys from Conch Life this week is new southernmost point inflatable buoy available for appearances.
Everyone has their celebrities.
The southernmost buoy in Key West, which is, we've talked about, you guys have seen it, I'm sure. It's made out of concrete. It's kind of sits on the corner of the southernmost point, and it's got like red and black and yellow stripes, and it says southernmost point, 90 miles to Cuba.
Yep.
So the southernmost buoy in Key West is arguably the most photographed monument in all of South Florida. Daily, rain or shine, guests line up for blocks to have their picture taken to celebrate a bucket list moment of reaching the southernmost point in the continental United States. Weighing in at 20 tons and 12 feet tall, 7 feet wide, the original buoy is getting ready to celebrate its 40th birthday in September. But now the southernmost point inflatable buoy, it's italicized, inflatable buoy, can travel anywhere for private parties, photo shoots, special events, weddings, grand openings, trade shows, and other imaginable occasions. Completely portable for placement inside or outside, on land or sea, this replica can be plugged into a regular wall outlet or run on our small, quiet generator.
Oh, my God.
The backside has space for a customized banner, branding, or even the TDC logo if appropriate.
TDC?
I don't know. I'm reading you the story.
The C?
Rentals start at $300 and include local delivery and setup.
$300.
Yep.
That is pretty funny. If I got married down here, maybe I'd jam that thing in there, or like a bachelor party. People are like climbing all over it and stuff, rubbing on it.
You gotta disinfect that thing.
It's a funny idea. I think it's a funny idea. People who do like, drunken stuff down here, I could see them incorporating that thing.
All right, you got a German word of the week?
I got two, but it's kind of similar. One is Sommerloch.
Summer
hole. Loch. L-O-C-H. Sommer. S-O-M-M-E-R. Loch. L-O-C-H. Like Loch Lomond or Loch Ness.
Yeah, but that means lake.
Well, it might also mean hole. I don't know. It means hole.
No, it means lake.
It means hole in German. It means maybe water hole in Scotch. So anyway, Sommerloch refers to the slow news time in July and August when nothing's happening and there's just a hole in like news. And so usually it's when the you get your goofy little stories about, dog learns to windsurf, or baby spells its name. So another word for that is saure Gurkenzeit.
Sour cucumber time.
Yes.
Pickle time.
Exactly. Sour cucumber pickles. So it's called saure Gurkenzeit, which is just because that was the quote unquote season for pickles.
It is.
July and August in Berlin. But it also refers to the same kind of thing where it's like there's just not much going on and everyone's kind of in the media thirsty for stories, and they'll report goofy stuff. So if you see a goofy news story in the summer, you're just like, oh, must be saure Gurkenzeit. They're reporting on some guy.
You don't need to give us more examples. We understand.
I can't think of any goofier
Good. Stop doing it. You already have
I
done the
love
windsurfing dog. That's enough.
Examples. Windsurfing dog would be a good one.
I stopped you trying to come up with the examples when it was like Zomalach. And then you're like, and here's the other word. Let me come up with some more examples.
It's better.
For the same thing.
Sauergurkenzeit is better.
Oh my
It
God.
must be more important. Anyway, those two words. Yes, so that's a thing. I what's it called in America? It's just sort of slow news time, slow news cycle. Yeah, but it's every July and August in Germany because things do kind of slow down.
All right, it's time for Ingo Corner, where you could, I guess, come up with more examples, and I won't interrupt you.
I'm good. I've come up with all my stuff. I've come up with all my stuff. Yeah.
So you guys, we're going on a little staycation for a couple days. GR Dog Sitter will be here, so you can look forward to her coverage for the end of the week. And until next time, Slava Ukraini, and don't bite anyone unless they ask you to.
Yep. Belatedly happy 4th if you celebrate, and don't bite anyone unless they ask you to.
Bye.
Bye.